Good morning, all of you.
Morning, ma'am.
Okay,
Good
so
morning, ma'am.
yes, good morning. So we will start.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, my dear. So today we will start with a new chapter in civics, that is political parties, chapter number 6, page number 71. And like while we are on a tour of democracy which we started last year, we will carry that on forward, and here we will study about the most visible face of democracy, that is the political parties. And in this chapter we will basically see that why do we need political parties, why they are needed, why they are so important for democracies, and how many parties should be there in a democracy. And then we will also have a look at some of the challenges or the limitations which the political parties face in India. So we will start with that why do we need the political parties. Okay, now like I said, that political parties are the most visible face of democracy. And for many citizens, ordinary citizens, when we talk about democracy, what they understand is, they understand that when we talk about democracy we mean political parties. And if you travel to the remote parts of India, the villages and the remotest parts, you where people are not much educated, and you talk to them, they may know nothing about what is a constitution, or the basic things about the country, or what sort of government we have in our country. But chances are that they will know something or the other about the political parties. Maybe they will know some important leader, or the leader of any particular party, or the name of any particular party. Now at the same time, when we say that they are the most visible face of democracy in a country, now when we talk about that, though people know about them and they are always there all around us, but still that does not mean that they are very popular. Why? Because most of the people, they are very critical of the political parties, and whatever goes wrong in the country, whatever is wrong with the democracy, we always blame it on the political parties. And so the parties, they have become identified with the social and political divisions. So the parties also create social and political divisions in our country or in our society. So now, if they are the most visible face of democracy, then obviously there is a need to ask that, do we really need political parties at all? And now about 100 years ago, there were very few countries in the world which had political parties. And now there are very few countries which do not have political parties. That means all, basically most of the countries, they have political parties. Now Mars,
Yes, ma'am.
what is wrong? Why are you going and coming? What is this happening?
Sorry, ma'am.
Hmm. Alright. Okay. So now, why these political parties, they have become omnipresent? What is the meaning of omnipresent? We use this word for God, that he is omnipresent. What does it mean?
I'm everywhere.
Alright, so everywhere. He is present everywhere. That is the adjective, the word we use for God. So why these parties have become omnipresent? Means in all the democracies we see the political parties. And so what they are saying is that, let us first answer the question that what political parties do, and then we will see that whether we need them or not. Let's see what are the functions they perform, and then we will get to know that whether we really need them or we don't need them. Now the meaning of political party, now basically what is a political party? It is just a group of people, or a association of people, and who come together with the view to contest, take part in elections, and then if they win, they want to form the government. Then the political parties, they have some they agree on certain policies and programs for the society, and they think that these policies and programs are best suited for our country and society, and they will be able to promote the welfare of the country. Now we are different people, So even our views will be different as to what is good for us. Now what is good for me may not be good for you. For you something else would be more good. And the political parties, what they do, they try to persuade people and that why their policies are better than the others, and then they also seek, they not only tell the people that why their policies are better, but they also want to implement these policies when they form a government by getting popular support during elections. So that is what the political parties try to do. And so we can say that the parties, they reflect political divisions in our society. What, and because so many people side with different political parties, and so that is why these political parties, they represent the divisions in the society. So what we can say, that parties are about a part of the society, and so they involve partisanship. Now what is a partisanship? It is given here, if you see in the book, in the glossary. Who is a partisan? First, partisan is a person who is very strongly committed to a party or a particular group or a particular faction. And partisanship is basically our tendency to take sides. And when we take sides, then we are not able to take a balanced view on an issue. Why? Because we favor a particular side, and so we normally don't give and see a balanced version of the other people also. So most of the political people in our country, they side with a political party, and as a result the society is also divided politically. So basically a party is known by the part it stands for, and the policies it supports, and the interest of which part of the society it upholds. There are so many different political parties whom we know that they support a particular section of the society also. Like we know the BSP, they support the Dalits and their issues and their causes. So we know that the BSP, they stand for which part of the society, and the policies they will make will be for the welfare of which particular section of the society, and the interest of which particular section of the society they uphold most. Obviously they will work for the benefit of the whole country, but then they are in favor of a particular section of the society. Now in general, a political party has three main components. First, the leaders; second, the active members; and the third are the followers. Now let's have a look at so this is what we mean by a political party. Now let's see what are the functions which a political party performs. Now basically the work of the political party is to fill the political office, means the offices in the government, that is their work, to fill it up and to exercise political power or political control. Now this they do by many functions. Now the first function of a political party is to contest elections, and in most democracies of the world, elections are basically fought among the various political parties, and so we have here, we have so many different political parties. We have the Congress, we have the BJP, the SP, the BSP and all. And so these parties, they field their contestants, and the elections are basically among the candidates of these political parties. And now how the political parties select their candidates, now this is different in different countries. Like in some countries like the US, it is the members and the supporters who choose party candidates. And now this is like more democratic way of choosing, and so more and more countries are now following this method. But in our country, India, it is the top leaders who choose the candidates for contesting elections, and that is not very democratic in nature. So but that is the first function of a political party, that they contest elections. Then what is the second function? That they put forward different policies and programs. So the different political parties, they stand for different policies and programs, and the voters have a choice to select that which ideas and which policies and which programs they favor more. All right, and like each of us may have so many different views and opinions and as to what policies are most proper and suitable for a society, but we are so many here in India, so a government won't be able to handle so many different opinions and views. And so in a democracy, what is required, that a large number of similar opinions or views, they need to be grouped together so that a particular direction is provided in which policies can be formulated by the governments, and this is the work that is done by the political parties. So what a party does, they reduced a vast multitude, means n number of opinions and views into a few basic positions which a party supports. And so when a government is formed, the party, they win elections, then the policies and programs are taken on the basis of the policies and programs of the particular political party. So the laws and the policies are formulated on that basis. Third function, the parties, they play a decisive role in making laws for the country. We say that laws are made by the legislature, but what does a legislature comprise of? Most of the political parties members are there in the legislature, and since most of the members there, they belong to a particular political party, so the people, they go by the direction or by the views of the leader. Now maybe they may not support that particular view, so even irrespective of their personal opinions, normally what happens, these party members or these MPs, they go by, these MPs or the MLAs, they go by the decisions of their party leaders. And so the parties, we can say, they have a very important role in making laws for the country. Then one more important function of the party is that the parties, they form and run governments. And now the last year you studied about the executive, the political executive, as well as the permanent executive. And do you remember who are the political executive and who are the permanent executive? Anyone here, class 10th?
Ma'am, permanent
I'm
were the civil servants
permanent
in the government
civil
offices.
servants.
All right. And who are the political executive?
Was the
Ma'am,
government
like-
part?
Ma'am, who are elected?
Ma'am, who are elected.
All right.
Ma'am, who are elected?
Okay, all right, fine. So last year when we studied about that particular decision which was taken by the government of India, particular department, and 27% reservation were there for the SCBC, remember that? We studied
Yes,
about that, the Mandal Commission and all.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we saw in that particular case that the big policy decisions, they are taken by the political executives. And who are these political executives? They come from the different political parties only. And so what the party does, they recruit the leaders, they train them, and then they make them ministers so that they can work in the way in which the party leadership wants them to work. Then another important function of the political party is that those who do not win, those who lose, so they play the role of the opposition to those who are in power. And these opposition parties, they voice different views and they criticize the government if they fail on any particular issue. So they criticize the government for their failures, if the wrong policies and their wrong programs. And so opposition parties are also very important for the function of a democracy, and they also mobilize, get together support for against the government. Then parties also shape public opinion. It is the political parties that raise and highlight issues which are going on in the society. And parties, they have so many lakhs of members and activists who are spread all over the country. And many of the pressure groups, by pressure groups here we can talk about many student unions, they are also just the extensions of the political parties. Then the labor unions in the big companies and all, they are also the extensions of these political parties only. And so parties, they sometimes they launch movements, and if they want to make find out certain way for the problems which are faced by the people, like the trade unions and all that, and the student unions also, when they say that when they feel that the people under them, they are facing certain problems, and so they launch movements for the restoration and for the solution of those problems. And often the opinions in the country, in the society, they crystallize, or they are made on the basis of the path which the political parties take. Then the last function, that the parties provide access to government machinery and welfare schemes which are implemented by government. For an ordinary citizen, it is very difficult to go to an IAS or to an IPS, the civil servants, alright, and they think that it is easier to approach a local party leader, alright, than a government officer. And so that is why they feel a lot closer to the political parties rather than to these permanent executives. And so that is why the parties also need to be responsive to the needs of the people and to their demands, because they know that if they don't respond to the needs of the people, then in the next elections they won't be elected. Okay, so the question we started was that why do we need the political parties? Now we have seen what a political party is, what are the functions which a political party does, and so the list of these functions, in a way, it answers our questions that why do we need the political parties. As we have seen, they perform so many functions, and so obviously, because they perform so many important functions in a democracy, so we need them. But we still need to ask a question that why modern democracies, they cannot exist without political parties. And so they are saying that let us imagine a situation or a condition where there are no political parties. Elections are there because democracy is there, and what if there is no political party? Then every candidate in the elections will be an independent candidate. Like now we have so many political parties, and the candidates, they belong to different political parties, some big national parties, some regional parties and all. And we have certain independent candidate also, but they don't have much say in the government because they are not supported by people, and each one stands for themselves. And so in a condition where there are no political parties, so each candidate would be independent, and then a single candidate, he won't be able to make any promises to the people, and he won't be able to make any major policy changes or policy, he won't be able to take any major policy decisions. And a government obviously would be formed because people would be elected from different constituencies, so government will be formed. But how useful the government would be, now that will be very uncertain. Why? Because these elected representatives, they will be answerable only to the constituency from which they have been elected, but no one will be responsible for the way the country is run. So now that won't be very proper, we could say that. Now we can also say that why political parties are very necessary is by looking at the non-party based elections which are done in the panchayats in many of our states. So in many of the panchayat elections, the parties, they do not contest in a proper manner, like okay, the Congress or the BJP, they are contesting elections in a particular panchayat. So it is not like that, but still, so there are no candidates which are supported by the different political parties. But still, what is noticed is that if in a village, from a village 3-4 people are standing for elections, so the village, it divides up. Alright, so it splits up into more than one faction, because different people, they will support different people, means the people, they will support different candidates for the elections. So though these candidates do not represent a particular political party, but still the society or still the village will be divided into different groups, and these different sections will support the different candidates. And so that is the reason we find political parties in almost all countries of the world, whether the countries are big or small, old or new, developing or developed or developing. Because even if we do not have party based election, even then there is division in the society gets split, the society gets split up. And if we don't have party based elections, then we will not have a proper, answerable and a responsive government. And so what we can say is that the rise of political parties, it is directly linked to this emergence of representative democracy. We have representative democracy in our country. What is a representative democracy, by the way? Come on, class 10th.
Ma'am, in representative democracy, in of each ward gives their one person who is capable of representing them.
Yes, anyone else? What is a representative democracy, class 10th?
Ma'am, in which the citizens of the country represent their representatives to form the government at the center.
Alright, so basically what is a representative democracy? A form of democracy in which people, they elect their representatives, and these representatives form the government on the behalf of the rest of the people. So what we can say is we indirectly rule through our representatives. So that is what a representative democracy is. So now this rise of political parties is linked to this emergence of representative democracies, because we know that in large societies we need representative democracy, and direct democracy is not possible. And we talked about it last year also, that it won't be possible for all the eligible voters of a country to come and sit together. We won't find a big enough physical place also for all the people to sit together, and then the people may not be willing also to come, leave their work and sit and discuss and deliberate, and maybe they will not have even the talents or the skills required for all this work. And so that is why representative democracy is a must for these large democracies. And societies, as they have become now large and complex, and so the societies also needed a certain agency which will gather all this we have already talked about, which will gather the different views on various issues, and then they will present it to the government. This we have already talked about. Then they also needed some ways in which to bring about the various representatives together, so that a responsible government could be formed. We saw that if there is no party, then all the candidates would be independent, and each will be only answerable to their constituency, and no responsible or answerable government would be formed which will be responsible and answerable to the whole of the country. So we needed an agency, we needed some agency to do this work, to bring about the representatives together, and so that a proper, a responsible government could be formed. Then these representative democracies, they also needed a certain mechanism in which way, through which they can either support or restrain a government. They could make policies, or they could justify the policies which they had made, or they could oppose the policies which were made by other people. And so the political parties, they fulfill all these needs which every representative government has. And so that is why we can say that parties are a very necessary condition for a democracy. Okay, so parties we need. But then how many political parties should we have? Now, in a democracy, people are free. Everyone is free. Any group of citizens is free to form a political party. And in this sense, in our country, we have so many political parties, and more than 750 political parties are registered with the Election Commission of India. But though there are 750 political parties registered, but not all these parties are real, serious contenders for power or for the elections. And only a handful of the parties are really, you know, in a condition.
Excuse me, ma'am. What
Yes.
is the meaning of contenders?
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes,
contenders.
yes, yes, my dear. And you know what it basically means, that there are so many different political parties, all right, but only few are serious. Contenders are basically those who are taking part, all right. Here it
Okay,
means
ma'am.
that only few political parties are really the real contenders in the elections, means only they are in that space to win elections. There are so many, but the real contenders, those who can win, like you know, uh, if we take the example for a class, so many people, so many students, they give examination, but only few are contenders for the first position. Yes, everyone cannot come first, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. So that is what it means. So the serious people who can win elections, there are very few. So very few political parties can really form a government and win an election and form a government. And so the question is that how many these major, influential, effective parties we should have in a democracy. Now in some countries, you know, only one party is allowed to work and control the government, and they are called as one party system. And if you remember, we studied about China last year, and if you remember that only the Communist Party was there allowed to rule, and though legally other political parties also existed there, but you know their electoral system was such that only people who belong to the Communist Party and other eight smaller parties allied to it, only they could become, they could be a part of the parliament. The rest could not be a part of the parliament. And so what we can say is that one party system is not a very good option. Why? Because you know it is not a democratic option. If only one party is there, and only always you have to select from that one particular political party only, and you know even if you are not satisfied with that party, you cannot change that also. Now that is not a very democratic option. So in a democracy, at least two parties should be able to compete in elections, and both parties should have a chance to come to power. Now you know in some countries the system is such that only two parties, mainly two parties are there, and several parties, more parties exist there, but only two main parties are real contenders for power. Means one time this party will come, and maybe the other time it will repeat, and then again there is other party. So only two parties change or exchange power among themselves, and the other political parties are there, they may win a seat or two here and there, but they cannot form a government, and such a party system is called a two party system. And the examples are the United States of America and the United Kingdom. Now the third condition is that it's several parties compete for power, and more than two parties, they are having a reasonable chance of coming to power. Now either they can form government on their own, or they can form a coalition government, means they can do in a form of a alliance or a coalition. Then that system we call as a multi-party system. So in India what we follow is the multi-party system, because you know here the government can be formed by various parties coming together to form a coalition. You know what is a coalition government? Tell me first.
When two or three political parties come together to form the government.
Or
When political parties form an alliance to form a government.
alright, so basically you know coalition is formed after elections, alliance is formed before the elections. Okay, now you know after elections, if no party gets a clear majority, then two or more parties, like-minded parties, they can come together to form a government, and that government is called as a coalition government. But when parties they come together, all right, to form or for the purpose of contesting elections and then winning power, means if before elections they come together and uh, they come together for the purpose of winning elections and contesting elections, now that is called as an alliance or a front. means they come together before the election, so that will be alliance or front. And if they get together, more political parties, they get together after the elections to form a government, now that is called as a coalition government. For example, in India, in the year 2004, there were three major alliances: the National Democratic Alliance, the United Progressive Alliance, and the Left Front. Now, the multi-party system, it often appears very messy, and there is instability because there are so many political parties. If a coalition government is formed, sometimes it is not a very stable government, so it may seem unstable also. But at the same time, this multi-party system, it allows people of varying interests and opinions to enjoy representation in the government. So the question is that which one of this is better? Now, perhaps what is they are saying is that the best way to answer this question is that this is not a very good question itself. This is not a very good question. Why? Because a party system is not something which a country chooses. Now, this party system, it evolves over a long time. It depends on the nature of the society, the social and regional divisions in our society, then the diversity of the society, its history of politics, the system of elections that particular country has. So on that depends that how many political parties the country will have. And now this cannot be changed very quickly. And so each country, it develops a party system that is conditioned by their own special or specific circumstances. For example, India. India is such a big country, such a diverse country, and so it has evolved a multi-party system because the social and geographical divisions in our country, now they cannot be possibly absorbed just by one or two political parties. And so that is why we have a multi-party system in our country. And so what we can say is that no system is ideal for all countries and for all situations, but the party system is conditioned by many conditions, or it depends on many aspects like the nature of the society, its social and regional divisions, and also its history of politics and the system of elections. So we will stop here today. Have you all understood that what we have done today? Is it clear to all of you? Is there anything which you have not understood? Class 10, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you all understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright. So we'll meet tomorrow again and we'll continue with this chapter. In the meantime, all of you can go through the chapter once again. Okay, all of you?
Thank you, ma'am.
Alright.
Thank you, ma'am.
Alright, so
Thank
that
you,
would be
ma'am.
all
Thank
for
you, ma'am.
today.